Welcome to Special Stage. In this programme we're going to take you through the highlights of the season. We're currently at the REIS Asphalt Rally Championship final here in Otterburn. But before we take you through today's action, we're going to take you right back to the start of the season at Epint.
With the championship going down to the wire last season, Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson knew they needed to push right from the start to give them the best chance in 2014, and they did just that, taking an early lead here of just 5 seconds. A self-confessed cautious start for Peter Lloyd and Neil James left them in second place, but with the confidence in the car and the stages, the push would be on for the next loop. Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh would be struggling with the slippery conditions in stage one, but it was the same for everyone. The pace was there though, and they lie in third place, just 5 seconds behind Lloyd. John Stone and Carl Williamson would make a great start to the event with fourth. A pre-season test on his own sponsored Northwest stages will have helped, but this was a great way to start round one. Simon Major and Brian Kamek chose to remain with rear-wheel drive this season and in a new car. It promised bigger and better things for 2014, and at the moment the pair lie in fifth place, happy to just settle in and find a pace. On to the next few stages then, and unfortunately stage 3 and 4 would be cancelled due to an accident involving Alex Laffey and Jack Morton. A much bigger impact than it looked, which meant Jack was taken to hospital as a precaution, but the pair are both ready to get back on it for round 2. The results did change slightly though for those that did get through both stages okay. No change though for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. They continue to lead the way overall on the rally. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh would move their way up to second overall. They now lead Peter Lloyd by just a single second. And things would improve for John Indry and Peter James as they gain a few places to lie in fourth place at this stage. So after the incidents were dealt with and everyone was okay, the event was back up and running with stage 5, the first long stage, and for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson it just gave them more of a chance to be chased by the rest of the crews. They still though lead the event. The gap was now very small though, 1 second advantage. Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh were the crew still in second and still chasing down Cole as well. The delays had resulted in some issues, and Simpson caught the course car towards the end of this stage, but with that behind them, they could look at fighting for the lead on the next two. Peter Lloyd and Neil James were still third. The gap was 3 seconds, and the pair was certainly not backing off. With Lloyd, it's just a case of driving the best he can and seeing what the times say. John Indry and Peter James were still going well in the Impreza. The fourth place they took on the shortened last loop was still theirs, and the feeling in the car was good. Unfortunately though, Indry's push up the results to fourth meant a drop down a place for John Stone and Carl Williamson into fifth. The times were very close, just 2 seconds separating the pair at this stage with 2 more stages to go. On to stage 6 then, and a change in the lead, as we see last year's round 1 winners Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh taking the lead by just 1 second. It was going to be tight going into the final stage, but not as tight as the battle just behind the lead. Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson now down in second place after Simpson took the lead, but they would share that place on an identical time to Peter Lloyd. So for Lloyd and Neil James, it would mean third if the results finished this way. Losing out on a stage 1 time, but it was far from over. Just a single second separating the top 3 crews going into the final stage. It will be anyone's guess who comes out on top. For John Stone and Carl Williamson, there will be some good news. Problems for a few people meant they could take advantage and move back into that fourth place, just over a minute back from the lead, but leading the rest of the field themselves. Tim Wilson and Elgin Davies were going well too. They now lie in 5th place. They will be happy with the finish here, given the lack of time they've had in the car, but just 4 seconds keep them from grabbing Stone's 4th position, so the fight would be on. 1 stage left for the crews then, and a quick look at the class and overall winners. Carwyn Watkins and David Percival have a good run to take the N3 win in the Fiesta, as well as 39th on the leaderboard. David Morgan and Richard Suter have a good run to take the lead in the B9 class at the end of the event in the Darien. And David Earthy and Maria Rayner started as the only runners in the A6 class, so the fact that they finished gets them the result. They finished in 33rd overall too. It would be a good result for Darren and Sue Underwood. They take the Class B10 win, and with it they also take 14th overall. A small scare with the fuel pump was rectified in service before it had a chance to fail, and the pair take the win comfortably after the retirement of Kevin and Charles Tappin on the final stage of the rally. Rob Tout and Dan Holly put themselves back in class winning ways with a convincing win in the N4 class. Maybe this year could be another Group N title to add to the collection. Richard Merriman and Kath Curzon have a good afternoon. They build up the pace and manage to end the day just rounding out the top 10 with a B11 class win to go with it. Bob Fowden and Ashley Trimble end the day in the lead of the B13 class, as well as taking a well-deserved 8th overall. And Rob Swan and Darren Garrett make a last-minute jump into 5th overall. A great debut in the championship this season for the pair. Despite some juggling of positions, it will be a great 4th place finish for John Stone and Carl Williamson. A good start like this for the season will hopefully be a good sign for the pair on the next round. Don't forget though, they don't like talking about it. So what about the top 3 and that 1 second battle? Well, unfortunately for Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh, it wouldn't go their way. They dropped down from the lead and into 3rd place, just 5 seconds off victory. And for Peter Lloyd and Neil James, it would also be bad luck as they lose out on victory too. They end the day in 2nd place in yet another close battle in this championship. And of course that means that it's a win at round 1 for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. The ideal start to the season and the only epic victory that had eluded Cole so far. So at the end of the first round, the results looked like this. Next up, it's the Manx.
A number of personal records were looking to be beaten this weekend, including Damien Cole, 4 times champion, looking to claim his first win on Manx soil. But there would be plenty standing in his way, looking for the win themselves. So as usual, this wasn't going to be easy for anyone. The first couple of stages, a double run through the Port Erin stage. It may be short, but it has its challenges. It wouldn't be any surprise, though, over these first 2 stages to see Paul Bird and Aled Davies leading the way. Clearly committed through the spectator line streets, they lead by 6 seconds after stage 2. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh in that fantastic sounding Subaru will be second at this early stage. The Manx hadn't always been kind to Simpson, but this was a great start to his 2014 attempt.
Crossroads 16. Turn square right. 40, turn square left. 40, turn square right. 60 down. Turn hairpin left long and narrow.
Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead were out in the new S2400 Fiesta, and it was clearly well suited to the stage, and indeed the crew well suited to the car. 3rd overall now, just 0.2 of a second behind Simpson. Ollie Mellors and Ian Windrus were definitely a crew with the most mixed experience, particularly in our top 10, with this being Ollie's first visit, and of course Ian having been at the top of the results here in the past with other drivers. 4th place was a great start for the pair. For reigning champion Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it would be the other way round. Cole having experienced the event many times, but this was to be the first visit to the Isle of Man for co-driver Elliot. 5th place wasn't where they wanted to start, but it was still just 13 seconds off the lead at this early stage. So with just 2 stages down and the leaderboard taking shape, Paul Bird leads the way over a mix of newcomers and regulars here on the Manx National. 4 more stages remain on day 1 then, the latter of which will be in the dark. There wouldn't be any change in the lead over the next few stages, apart from, that is, the advantage. Paul Bird and Aled Davies have a blinding final stage of the day to open up a 2-minute 25-second lead. For Ollie Mellors and Ian Windrus, it was a good night. A move up to 2nd place now. The gap may be big to the lead, but it was only 3 seconds back to 3rd. The fight was definitely on. A 3rd place, though, that was no longer occupied by Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead as they suffer an accident in stage 6 and retire, as well as cause many crews to get a nominal stage for that time. Importantly, though, both crew members okay. It's all changed through the top of the results now as Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark move up into 3rd from their 6th position. A long time out of the car and the times were starting to look promising again. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh take a bit of a drop down the order now into 4th. Taking the leaders out of the equation, though, they were way out ahead. There was only 10 seconds for Simpson in the battle for 2nd place. No improvement, though, for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. They continue in 5th position. Although, if there needed to be any ray of hope, they do narrow the gap by 0.2 of a second by the end of day 1. On to day 2 then, 3 stages in the first loop, including the notorious Druidale stage. No change in the lead once again for Paul Bird and Aled Davies. However, the pair do lose a little time in this loop to lie 2 minutes in the lead now. For Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark, it would still be going the right way on the leaderboard. They move up the order into 2nd, and they actually have a lead of 32 seconds in that place as well. One of the biggest margins we've seen this weekend so far, apart of course from the runaway leaders. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh also make a move the right way on the results. They lie in 3rd now, but that could have been very different with a small mistake on the flying finish of the Druidale stage. Luckily though, bouncing off the bank and nothing too serious. Some of the movement was down to Ollie Mellors and Ian Windrus, who dropped 2 places into 4th now. No problems, just getting to grips with the combination of all things new. Ollie, of course, being a gravel driver usually, but doing a fantastic job on his first trip to the Isle of Man. Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson didn't seem to be able to find any more from the car over these stages, and there is no change to their 5th position. It was still around the same time from the leaders overall, but not gaining anything, which was of course the aim. 2 more stages in this loop, including a daylight run through Marine Drive. For Paul Bird and Aled Davies, things were still looking good. Their advantage down to less than 2 minutes now, but they had no reason really to push on these Manx lanes. Such great pace. So no change either for 2nd placed Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark. They remain best of the rest and have a small lead as well in that position. It was, however, only a lead of 3 seconds. So for Ollie Mellors and Ian Windrus, the chase was on. It would be a push going into the final stages to see if they could change those results around. Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson enjoying a bit better luck on these stages, moving up into 4th place now. But the pair were still struggling to find any more pace. The pace that they needed as well to gain the time back to the leaders. We see an unfortunate slip down the results a little for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh as they move down from 3rd to 5th now. This puts them just 9 seconds behind Cole with 3 stages left to go.
On to the final 3 stages then, and a look at the class and overall winners. Lee Farrer and Neil Bybe managed to get the Puma to the finish and end the event with the class win, and 28th overall too. Ian Barnard and Ashley Davies nursed the Nova to the finish of the event after their problems to take the B9 class win and 24th overall. It's a good last loop for Darren and Sue Underwood, confirming their lead of the B10 class, as well as netting them 16th overall in the process. And Paul and Julian Doroschuk lose a little time in the afternoon stages, though luckily not enough to rob them of the class win. 42 seconds ahead in 20th overall. The top of the results see some big changes, as this would be the last time we see Paul Bird and Aled Davies, the pair going off the road just out of sight of our cameras, rolling the car. Despite a shaky start, Darren Atkinson and Phil Sandham work their way up the results to end the event in 8th place. And with it, they also take first in the B12 championship points. Gary Nuttall and Mark Perryman put in some good times to mix it with the World Rally cars in 6th place overall. And with it, they also take first in the B13 class.
Graham Coffey and Jenny Gebler got to grips with the car as the event went on, and the times started to look better stage by stage. They finish in 5th place and take 3rd in the A8 class. The chance of a Manx win looked to be eluding Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson from the start this weekend, but it was confirmed with retirement on stage 13 when the car coasted to a halt at the end of the stage after this jump. So that means it's a promotion to 4th overall for John Stone and Carl Williamson. A great job done by all the team to get through the problems and come out the end with a good result. And some good points as well to take to the next round in Scotland. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh enjoy a good weekend overall to finish on the final step of the podium. It was roughly where they'd been sat all the way through the rally, showing that they had good, consistent pace in that Subaru.
Bridge and flat 3 left long, 40. Line, flat 2 right in, flat 2 left 60. Stay mid with flat jump crossroads 80. 1 right and 2 right long, and 1 left long, 100. Fast 3 right in, fast 3 right in, 40.
For Ollie Mellors and Ian Windrus, it would be a fantastic result. Ollie finishing his debut Manx Rally in 2nd position, which incidentally was the same result his dad Chris finished this event in to Bertie Fisher 25 years previously. So all of that means it's a win for Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark. They missed out on victory by only a few seconds last year, so this result was a long time coming for the pair.
80, mid-sport crest jump 50, line into 3 left plus half long, 40, 2 right max, mid-crest, 2 left, 60, mid-flat crest jump, slippy on, 100, 1 right half long, tightens, narrows to 2 right half long tightens, and 1 left, 150, line into 4 right plus gate posts, 40, 2 left half long fast.
So at the end of round 2, the results looked like this. Next up here, a special stage, it's the Jim Clark Rally.
Day 1 of the Jim Clark then, 4 stages with a short blast around Duns and the infamous Abbey St Bathans stage. Just as promised, Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh start the event the best way that they could, with a lead of just over 13 seconds at the end of the first day of competition. For reigning champion Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it would be 2nd, not quite on the pace of Simpson, but a good lead themselves in that place over 3rd. And in that 3rd place was a fiesta of Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead. Things hadn't gone the way they'd planned on the Manx, retiring on the first day. But although slightly shorter, day 1 here was going better already for the pair. And joining the championship here at round 3 were Neil Simpson and Claire Mole, the pair lying in 4th overall and of course leading the way in the A7 class. The Skoda Fabia definitely more suited to the Abbey St Bathans stage than it will be on the faster stages of day 2. The second Skoda pairing, John Stone and Carl Williamson, seem to have a good rhythm going this season so far, as was evident from their 5th place at the end of day 1, just 4 seconds behind the S2000 Fabia ahead of them. On to day 2 then, 3 stages to start the day, including a blast through the short but tricky Langton stage. The only thing to change at the top of the results at this stage on day 2 would be the advantage. Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh edged their way a little further ahead now to lie 22.5 seconds in that lead. And despite their best efforts, there was nothing Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson could do to gain any time on Simpson. But they were still keeping him in their sights, and they still had time to try and change that on the next stages. The problems for Cole now would be coming from behind, with third place Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead having a great run in the new car and closing the gap to just 6.9 seconds. The pressure was now on.
Big flat crest jump, 120. Flat left 6. 40 over crest right 5, very fast, be brave. Opens of a bridge, 200.
No change for Neil Simpson and Claire Mole in the Fabia S2000. They remain in 4th place. Their times not far off the pace at the front. A little more of a gap to Taylor in front now, but the times to the leaders were still similar to the end of day 1. For John Stone and Carl Williamson in Skoda number 2, it would still be 5th. And they also remain in 3rd place in the B14 class. 16 seconds now was the difference between the two Fabias. We can look forward to 2 stages in this loop then, including a brand new stage for the crews. Just as it had been from the start, Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh continue to lead the way this weekend. Only the advantage wasn't growing so much now. 25.4 seconds was still theirs to play with, but the pressure was still on. For Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it was still second too. And still the lead of the B14 class, but no advance on the rally leaders. They were, though, at least keeping up and holding off the fight from behind at this stage. And what about that fight? Well, for Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead, it would still be 3rd. The gap to Cole narrowing, but not by much. In fact, just half a second. The pace would have to be increased if that was going to change in the next loop of stages. For Neil Simpson and Claire Mole, there wouldn't be any change. The A7 class lead was safe. And with almost a minute advantage now, it looked like 4th overall could be safe too. But they still had more to do yet. So for John Stone and Carl Williamson, their job was clear. 3rd in the B14 class was safe, as was 5th overall. But they were losing a little time overall to Simpson up ahead. Thankfully, though, the deficit behind wasn't changing too much. Two more stages, a repeat of the previous loop, but will the crews have found anywhere to make up some time?
On to the final leg of the event then, and it would be the Class B11 win for Andy Hawkins and Phil Boyle in the Golf. And no change for Seoul class runners Simon Stewart and Doug Levy. The problem's behind them now, and they take maximum points in the B9 class. Kevin Tappin and Jonathan Hawkins continue to hold the lead in the B10 class right to the finish, taking maximum points. David Hardy and John McCulloch were still showing their return to the championship was on the pace. They take away maximum B13 class points from round 3. For Simon Major and Mike Dixon, it will be job done. They take the B12 class points and, of course, the Millington rear-wheel drive honours. John Stone and Carl Williamson lost a little time to the crews ahead, but not much. They lie just over a minute back in 5th place and with a comfortable 30-second advantage themselves in that place. Neil Simpson and Claire Mole seem to be at their limit, towards the end of the event, taking just a single second out of Taylor. They end the event in 4th overall. Peter Taylor and Andrew Ruffhead, meanwhile, managed to take a little time out of Cole on these stages, but not enough. They finished in 3rd overall, 4.5 seconds down on Cole. So that means Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson managed to hold on to that 2nd place, but are unable to gain any more time to the leaders. A good result for the championship, though, nonetheless. And that means maximum points from round 3 for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. They end the event with almost a 30-second lead and some good points to take to round 4. So the final results looked like this. Next up, the crews head to Ireland for the ALMC stages. Things get off to a good start for Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank as they compete on their first round of the championship. No strangers to the Irish lanes, having competed over here plenty this season. They will be expected to go well, and the pair lead the way by 9 seconds at the end of the morning's 3 stages. For current championship leaders Stephen Simpson and Patrick Walsh, it will be a good start. Not leading, but 2nd place will be welcomed at this stage, especially given the downpour the crews had in the final stage of the loop. 19 seconds advantage over their nearest challengers too. John Stone and Carl Williamson make a good start. They end stage 3, rounding off the podium places behind Hunter and Simpson. As with everyone else, the conditions were keeping them on their toes. Whatever tyre choice you made, it was never going to be right for the conditions on all 3 stages. Fresh from a great run on Rally of the Midlands, Alex Laffey and Jack Morton were settling into the Irish stages well. They lie just 6 seconds back from Stone in 4th place, and despite not feeling the 2nd stage was good for them, the times were looking good overall. For reigning champion Damien Cole, with Elliot Edmondson alongside, it will be going well to start. 3rd place after stage 1, but a stall in the chicane on the 2nd stage would see them drop down the results, finally settling into 5th place at the end of stage 3. Peter Taylor and Andrew Ruffhead come into this round with some good points from the Jim Clark rally, but it wasn't as good a start this time round. The pair not able to get the rhythm in the car on the opening stages and feeling that there could be some setup issues to address in service. On to the next loop and a repeat of this morning's 3 stages, but what will the conditions do to the stage times? There wouldn't be any change in the overall lead in the next loop of stages. That honour still belongs to Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank. The only thing to change now would be the advantage, the reason for which would be the loss of Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh as they go out after stage 4, after crashing into a chicane and damaging the intercooler. So with Simpson now missing from the results, it will be John Stone and Carl Williamson who happily take up 2nd place. Although they were 50 seconds behind Hunter, the pair gamble on carrying 2 spares and change for 2 intermediate tyres before the 3rd stage. A gamble which looks like it paid off at this stage of the rally. Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson were slowly getting back on the pace after their earlier time loss in a chicane. They now move up to 3rd place and just 9 seconds behind Stone going into the 2nd service of the day. The loss of Simpson and being passed on the results by Cole even each other out, and means that for Alex Laffey and Jack Morton there will be no change in this loop as they remain in 4th, struggling to get into the rhythm in stage 5 due to the conditions, but remaining on the pace at the front overall. All of the change in the results, along with some very good times on the stages, mean that it's a move up to 5th now for Mieran Evans and Jonathan Jackson, a result that would surely be taken if you'd have offered it to him at the beginning of the day. Unfortunately, we lose Peter Taylor and Andrew Ruffhead in this loop of stages after a good run. They pull the car off the stage, retiring the Fiesta in stage 6. On to the final loop of stages then, and a look at the class and overall winners. For Ian Barnard and Ashley Davies, it will be 15th place. A good result and a good class win in the championship for the Nova pair. #12th overall for Darren and Sue Underwood in the Nova was a good result given the conditions. They of course take an important class win. And despite intercom problems, it will be a fantastic 6th overall and class win for Keith Robertson and Alistair Wiley. The pair of course also taking the Millington rear wheel drive trophy away with them this weekend. For Graham Coffey and Jenny Gabler, it would be a move into 5th place. With rallying as much about survival, their cautious approach paid off this weekend. Alex Laffey and Jack Morton came to this round with confidence after Rally of the Midland, but with the competition here, even they probably didn't expect to be ending the event in 4th place. The pair drove well all weekend, and it seems the new car was the ideal choice for the young pair's results this season. A gamble on tyres in that final loop didn't quite pay off for John Stone and Cole Williamson. They go into the final loop 2nd, but emerge in 3rd. But it was still a close race with only 8 seconds in it. And in case the pair didn't mention it, this result puts them in the lead of the championship after round 4. So that means that with a last-minute push on the final stage, Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson take enough time out of Stone to get that 2nd place and make up for what wasn't their best day's rallying. That result moves them up to 3rd in the championship standings now. But after leading the championship all day, Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank come away with a well-deserved victory here at the ALMC stages. The pair took things a little carefully in the final loop, losing a few seconds, but they end the event with a 54-second advantage by the finish. So at the end of round 4, the results looked like this. Next up for the crews, it will be back to the UK and to the Tyneside stages. The Tyneside stages would be the first of the season's visits to Otterburn. And with their last year's victory on his mind, Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson head out into the opening stages confident and looking for a win once again. And after the day's first 3 stages, it was all going to plan, leading, but with only a small 1-second advantage.
Jumps into flat right to the crest, 40. Flat jump, 100 over flat crest, 100. Flat lift of a crest, 150. Very long flat crest, 250 down, slowing through gate.
The closest rivals for Cole this weekend were looking like Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead. The pair had gone well last year in the Focus before going off the road. But the confidence was high this time round in the Fiesta, even if the power was at a disadvantage on some of the steeper bits of the stage.
Chicane, right entry. Chicane, right entry. Now at the 3rd bail, we'll turn and left 2. Turn left 2 at the 3rd bail now. 500. It's brilliant. Keep it up, Peter.
Missing from the fight already were Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. They go out on the first stage when the clutch fails on the car. A disappointing 2nd non-finish in a row for the pair. John Indry and Peter James make a good start. Not experts on these stages by any means, but Indry has had some good results here in the past. A small incident with a chicane loses a small amount of time, but for now it was 3rd. A last-minute entry for Simon Major also sees him with last-minute co-driver Ashley Trimble alongside. But despite 4th overall at this stage, the pair didn't feel it was going very well. A gravel section on stage 3 being the biggest issue so far for the 2-wheel drive pairing. John Stone and Carl Williamson enjoyed a great finish last time out, putting them in the lead of the championship. You might have heard about that. And this weekend starts much the same way. 5th place at this stage and settling into a good early pace. Three more stages in the second loop, identical to this morning's opening stages. All change at the top now as we see a big push from Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead to move up to the number 1 spot and even get themselves a nice 9-second lead to go into service with. This move, of course, means that for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it will be a move down into second. A place Cole was never going to be happy with, but given the fight being put up by Taylor this weekend, it wasn't going to be easy taking back that lead. Despite the stages being the same as the morning's run, and including that gravel section, Simon Major and Ashley Trimble still managed to move up the results into third now. The pair, of course, still leading the B12 class. Major's move up the results means a move down a place for John Indry and Peter James. An irony that wouldn't be lost on Indry. Things were going well though. The pair just need to push a little more on the next loop of stages. There will be a little personal battle between Indry and championship leaders John Stone and Carl Williamson. The pair were going well and keeping up with the increase in pace over these stages to lie in 5th. All change now in the next loop of stages with less miles in the loop. The stages may have changed, but the leaders hadn't, as Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead continue their run of good form and extend their lead slightly over the next 2 stages. 12 seconds was the advantage now as they cross into the second half of the day. And no change for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. They remain second overall, as well as Taylor. The pair are pulling away from the chasing pack a little more each stage. The battle at the front looking like a 2-horse race to the finish of this rally. But that's not to say that there wasn't still a chance for things to change, as Simon Major and Ashley Trimble remain in third and lie 31 seconds behind Cole. The pair, of course, continuing to lead the way in the B12 class. No change for John Indry and Peter James. 9 seconds the deficit to Major, and the pair remain 4th. Things were certainly going well once again after their Jim Clark rally misfortunes. No change for John Stone and Carl Williamson. Consistency got them where they are in the championship, and 5th place wasn't going to do them any harm this weekend, if they could hold on to that position, of course. 2 more stages and repeats of the last loop of the rally once again. With the realisation now setting in that this could be the first championship victory for Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead, they will be looking to make no mistakes. And in fact, the pair extend their lead by another 2 seconds going into the final stages. No change for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson as they remain in second. There was nothing they could do to beat Taylor now, and second was looking like it would be the final result. But of course, nothing was over just yet. Things were still going well for Simon Major and Ashley Trimble. The pair getting into the rhythm now and holding on to the lead in the class and that final podium place. But with the threat of rain in the next stages, things could get a lot harder and more interesting. Things were already pretty hard and interesting for John Indry and Peter James. The pair come to the end of stage 10 with damage to the steering on the Impreza after a heavy landing on the jumps. Luckily, though, they still lie in 4th place for now. Indry's 4th place was looking in jeopardy now, though, as the gap was closing in. And although still 5th, it would only be 7 seconds separating them from John Stone and Carl Williamson. A gap not impossible to close on these next stages. On to the final miles here at Otterburn then, and a look at the final results. It's another class win this weekend for Ian Barnard with Maria Rayner alongside. The pair get to the finish with the B9 class win and 21st overall under their belts in and over. Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones hold on to the B11 class lead for the day and take the class win by almost 2 minutes despite road penalties this afternoon holding them back a little. David and Matthew White make a return to the championship after their round 3 crash, and they finish the event in 17th overall, taking the maximum points the N4 class had to offer this weekend. A great run this weekend sees Kevin Tappin and Jonathan Hawkins take the Class B10 victory in a somewhat trouble-free run. A run that sees them finish the event rounding out the top 10 overall too. The results do take a bit of a shake-up with the loss of Darren Atkinson and Phil Sandham in the final stages. They crash out in a big way over the finish of the stage and are lucky to walk away with just minor injuries after leaving the car in a very sorry state indeed. With the drama going on behind them, it would be down to David Hardy and John McCulloch to take the B13 class win, and they end the day in 6th overall, a good result for the pair after some close battles all day. Sadly for John Indry and Peter James, it will be 5th at the end of the event. The pair's earlier problems knocking the confidence as well as the steering, and they lose out to 4th by 21 seconds. Which means for John Stone and Carl Williamson, it will be a move up to 3rd in the B14 class and 4th overall. A result which maintains their lead at the top of the championship. But with the pair due to miss the next round, it probably wouldn't stay that way for much longer. The last-minute entry for Simon Major and Ashley Trimble this weekend paid off. They walk away with the final step on the podium and take the B12 class win, as well, of course, as the Millington Challenge win this weekend. And importantly, they stayed close to the leaders throughout the rally. So despite trying very hard in the final stages, there will be no change for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. The pair are forced to settle for 2nd this weekend, but it's good points to add to the championship campaign ahead of the next round. And with Eppins up next, Cole was going to be back as one of the favourites for that round.
Flat left and left 3, cut of a crest, it's on 2. 170. Flat right of a crest and right 2 through gates, open.
So after a day-long battle that saw them taking a small number of seconds on each loop of stages, it would be the eventual win for Peter Taylor and Andrew Ruffhead. Their first victory in this championship, and one that will fill them with plenty of confidence in themselves and the car going into the remaining rounds of the season.
Flat left 6 over grid, 150. Flat crest.
So with round 5 complete, here's a reminder of the results. And next up we go with the crews back to Wales for the Mueller Rally. Round 6 of the championship and back to Eppins, this time for the Mueller Rally. After a disappointing previous round, it would be the ideal start for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. The pair open up a small but promising 13 seconds lead after the 3 opening stages. Keen to make it 3 Eppin victories in a row, Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson start the day a little behind in 2nd place. The problem being the wrong tyres. But as we'll find out, they weren't the only ones who would make that mistake. Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins were another pair to choose the wrong tyres, but they were doing something right at least, leading the rear-wheel drive battle in 3rd overall. Winners of the last round, Peter Taylor and Andrew Ruffhead, were here for only their 2nd visit, but it had been a long time since the first. The pace didn't feel like it was there. Frustrating, but 4th place was theirs for now. John Indry and Peter James were back in the more familiar Darien, but ironically, it was taking a little getting used to again after the Subaru, including a near miss with a log in stage 3, losing a small amount of time. So for now, it was 5th place overall, and 20 seconds behind Major for the class. The 2nd loop of the day, 3 stages, and a repeat of the opening loop then. And there wouldn't be any change in the lead, as Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh maintained that, but only by 1 second. But it could have been a whole lot worse. The pair spin off the road on a tight section of the stage and are lucky not to hit one of the many big rocks lining these stages. They get back on the stage and are luckily managing to keep that lead.
Well done, mate. Go on. Go first gear. 4 right and a 2 left. 80. Well done.
So thanks to Simpson's mistake, the gap to the lead was now only 1 second. And for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, that meant the fight was still on. It will be a better loop this time out on the slick tyres, and they go into service knowing that they had over half the rally remaining and the lead was well within touching distance. As was often the case, the leading pair got into their own battle and left the remaining crews to fight out the rest of the places. And leading the way there would still be Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins. The pair remain in third place, and importantly for them, ahead in the rear-wheel drive challenge, but only just. With Major leading the way in the class, it would still be second for John Indry and Peter James, but they were gaining on Major stage by stage. The gap now down to 8 seconds, and with the setup or the driver working better this time out, things were looking good. Unfortunately for Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead, the push from Indry means that it's down to 5th place for the pair. But from the inside, things were getting a lot better. They were getting to grips with the setup a little more, although any increase in pace made by them was being matched by those around them. Just 2 stages in the next loop, but no shortage of stage mileage and a change of route from the previous ones too. So with the route changed, so does the lead as Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson go into the stage with that 1 second to make up and come out 6 seconds in the lead. Now all they have to do is to keep it. So for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh, it will be a slip down to second place. The gap to third may be a little bigger, but second certainly wasn't safe, and they would have to push to try and overhaul Cole and gain back that lead. Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins were still keeping the rear-wheel drive battle going, and still keeping Indry at bay too. They remain in third, 25 seconds behind Simpson, so a push wasn't out of the question, but they would be wise to play it safe and maintain that class position. Something which John Indry and Peter James were certainly not going to do. With 8 seconds to Major still, the rear-wheel drive victory was in their sights. However, Stage 8 would see them chip a tooth off second gear, and there will be some worry about it lasting without further damage. Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead continue to struggle with the car on these fast stages, spending far too much time bouncing off the limiter. The pace was there, but they were unable to advance on 5th place at this stage, and clearly trying a little too hard, judging by the tape flapping around behind the car in stage 7. On to the penultimate loop of stages and a change of direction for the crews. A change of direction, but no change in the lead as Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson managed to hold off any charge from Simpson and maintain the lead. 6 seconds of an advantage now, which was good as there wasn't any more to give in these fast stages. Unfortunately for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh, their charge back to the lead was halted by a spin in this loop of stages. The pair making a wrong turn on one of the junctions and losing a few seconds in the process. They have just 3 stages left to try and take back the lead one last time. With the top 2 fighting for the win, it will be all change in third as we see John Indry and Peter James move up into that position. And of course, they now lead the rear-wheel drive challenge. The setup on the car was good and everything was falling into place. However, 30 seconds to the lead was a bit much to ask in just 3 more stages. So it would now unfortunately be 4th place for Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins, the pair slipping down the order into that position and now trailing the new rear-wheel drive leaders by 18 seconds. The feeling in the car was good, so all they could do was keep going as they were. Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead were trying hard, very hard, which was resulting in small mistakes. This overshoot on one of the stages went without any trouble, for example, but it can often be very different. They lose a handful of seconds, but it doesn't change their 5th place overall, which seemed secure for now. The final stages and a last chance then for a push for the crews. It will be a job just to finish for 19th placed David Earthy and Claire Williams. Problems with the gearbox meant they had to change gears with the clutch and get the car to the end in a bit of a survival mode. Darren and Sue Underwood managed to keep hold of the class lead, with just a single second separating them and the tap-ins at the end of the event, themselves not having an easy run with their own problems to work around this weekend. Nonetheless, a win. Rob Tout and Dan Holly end the day with a good run to take the N4 class honours, and of course a top 10 finish for themselves in 8th overall. Sadly, we'd lose Peter Taylor and Andrew Roughhead, the pair trying too hard and going off the road. No damage, but unable to get back on and continue. So that means that Tim Wilson and Elgin Davies managed to gain a place with their steady drive and end the event in 5th. A great result and certainly an enjoyable one for the pair. Unfortunately for Simon Major and Jonathan Hawkins, there was nothing they could do to take back the rear-wheel drive lead, so they would have to settle for 2nd place. A good result nonetheless, and made all the more enjoyable with the return of Indri in the Darien to battle with. Speaking of whom, it will be the final step on the podium for John Indri and Peter James. The pair take the rear-wheel drive win that they were hunting and finish just 34 seconds off the lead. Who needs a World Rally car? Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh end the event as runners-up this weekend. A shame after holding the lead for half of the rally. The result was, however, a much-needed one after a bit of bad luck. So the pair would take that to Wexford, where battle will commence in Ireland once again. So for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it would be victory, completing their hat-trick of wins on Epic this year and strengthening their position in the championship too. Next up is Wexford, an event where he knows he can go well. So with round 6 complete, here's a reminder of the results. Next up is back to Ireland for the penultimate round of the championship. So the championship returns to Ireland for the penultimate round. For Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it would be the ideal start, leading after the opening stages with a margin of 17 seconds at the end of stage 2. For John Stone and Cole Williamson, it will be 2nd place. But they were lucky to be coming out of the stages with that, after clipping a bank and getting away with just a slow puncture on the Skoda. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh start the day in 3rd, not helped with a launch issue on the first stage of the day. No problems on the second one though, and they lie just 9 seconds behind Stone. It would be a great start for Alex Laffey and Jack Morton. They were a little off the pace on the opening stages, but with only 34 seconds separating them from the lead, it was still all to play for. Keith Robertson and Alistair Wiley, meanwhile, were here looking for some good rear-wheel drive points. And it was going well too. 5th place now and leading the way in the rear-wheel drive runners this weekend. On to the next loop of stages, and there wouldn't be any change in the lead for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson. The pair extend their lead to 44 seconds now. There wouldn't be any change in 2nd place either, as John Stone and Carl Williamson keep hold of their place. Their only problem being a stall at the start of the 4th stage. And moving up the results now, Alex Laffey and Jack Morton step up into 3rd. The car running perfectly and suiting the stages this weekend. For Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh though, it would be problems. The car feeling like it was down on power, and unfortunately no time to try and fix it in service. So for now, it would be 4th. Keith Robertson and Alistair Wiley were still going well, lying in 5th place and still feeling like they could go faster. But they would need to make sure that they didn't push too hard. There was still a long way to go this weekend. On to the final loop of day 1, and there once again wouldn't be any change in the lead as Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson extend that a little further to just under a minute now, putting themselves in a good position to start day 2. Some great pace from Alex Laffey and Jack Morton sees them move up to take 2nd now. They were, of course, 58 seconds off the pace of Cole, but anything could happen and the pair would push the leaders through the 2nd day stages. John Stone and Carl Williamson unfortunately dropped down the results a little into 3rd now. No real issues, other than not feeling too well himself. Some new tyres though for day 2 and some much needed sleep should help for tomorrow. Unfortunately for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh, the problems with the car were not going away, and they would have to suffer through as best they could for the championship points. 4th at this stage, 13 seconds back from Stone. Meirin Evans and Jonathan Jackson increased the pace going into the final stages of the day. They move up the order into 5th and lead the class. Day 2 and a new set of stages. 3 stages each run twice for the crews. On with the action then. Just as they had on day 1, Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson continue to lead the way in the championship, but their lead was getting a little smaller. 3 seconds less on this loop of stages, down to 55 seconds now. Alex Laffey and Jack Morton settling quickly on day 2 and closed the gap to the rally leaders slightly. 3 seconds a loop wasn't going to get them the lead, but they were ready to take advantage of any problems up ahead should anything happen. John Stone and Carl Williamson keep up their good pace. A good night's sleep certainly helping, and a small mistake on stage 8 losing them a few seconds to make things a bit dramatic, but nothing serious. They go into the next loop in 3rd. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh were still struggling on with the problems. The rally win was long gone now, but they would be hunting down Stone for the final step on the podium this weekend. No change for Meirin Evans and Jonathan Jackson as they end this loop in 5th. The pair losing out a little with the chicanes on the final stage in the loop. The Group N car not really having the brakes or the acceleration to manage with so many chicanes. Problems very early in the day for Keith Robertson and Alistair Wiley. The pair hit a bank in the day's opening stage, breaking something on the rear axle, as well as a couple of punctures as well, making for some very scary moments until they could get back to service to repair the car. On to the next few stages then, and for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, the lead would get a little smaller once again, but nothing to worry about. The pair go into the final 3 stages with a 52-second advantage. So as long as they have no issues, the win looks like being in the bag.
And the right 2 don't cut. 120.
Alex Laffey and Jack Morton were having the best run in the championship so far, still lying in 2nd place and going well. Times on the stage were close, the pair keeping up with the pace of the leaders on day 2. John Stone and Carl Williamson, meanwhile, were counting down the stages now. Just 3 more to go. They hold on to 3rd place at this stage, managing to keep Simpson behind them with an advantage over the Subaru pair of 23 seconds now. Damage limitation would be the aim going into the final stages of the rally for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh, having a good run, but with the car still down on power, there was nothing more that they could do. 4th place for now, and unlikely to change that in the final stages. Meirin Evans and Jonathan Jackson were still having a good run in 5th. Not quite the pace of the top few, but that would be expected. They were enjoying the non-championship battles though, and setting some good pace in the Group N times. On to the final stages then, and Keith Robertson and Alistair Wiley are thankful just to get to the finish of the rally, especially after their earlier collision with the bank. The pair may be some way off the rally leaders, but the class and rear-wheel drive points were going to be ideal to take away from this round. Meirin Evans and Jonathan Jackson have a good run and remain in 5th place in the championship. Their fight this weekend was with the non-championship crews, and the pair were happy with the pace. Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh make it to the end of the event despite the problems. The car down on power all weekend, but at least the pair bagged themselves some much needed championship points to take to the final round. For John Stone and Carl Williamson, it would be a podium place. Not quite the second that they'd held at the start of day one, but third was a great finish. It will be all down to the final round now to see where they could finish in this championship battle. So for Alex Laffey and Jack Morton, it will be the best result they'd had all season. Second overall on such a long and difficult event was a great result, and one that was surely going to fill them with confidence going into the final round in just a few weeks' time. But for Damien Cole and Elliot Edmondson, it would be victory. The pair held the lead in the championship battle all weekend, taking maximum points away from Wexford, meaning of course that a fifth championship was looking promising, but it certainly wasn't in the bag just yet. So this weekend's result does a lot for the championship battle. Next up, the final round, the Cheviot stages. With the championship in the bag already coming into this final round, Damien Cole and James Morgan were here this weekend looking to end the season on a high, going well so far with the lead of the event. With closest championship contender Steve Simpson not able to attend the final round, it will be up to Simon Major and Ashley Trimble to keep Cole honest. 19 seconds was the difference after 2 stages as the pair lie in second overall. Unfortunately for Alex Laffey and Jack Morton, the event would be short-lived. They go off the road on stage 1, rolling the car, caught here midway through after the pair were catching Major in the stage. For John Stone and Matthew Wattam, this weekend was just about getting to the finish to secure second place for John in the championship. And going well so far, he lies in third overall. David Tin and Giles Dyke settle into a steady start, not realising that by the end of stage 2, they will be lying in fourth place, just 15 seconds outside the podium places. There's trouble for Mark Jasper and Don Wyatt right from the start as they have to complete the first 2 stages with a broken gear stick. Still, 5th place was a good start considering the problems. On to the next loop of stages then, and no change at the top as Damien Cole and James Morgan maintain the lead, extending it to 25 seconds now. Simon Major and Ashley Trimble were still their closest rivals this weekend. A new set of tyres on the car were working well, and improving the grip as well, the pair managed to keep hold of second place, as well as the B12 class lead. John Stone and Matthew Wattam were taking it easy, but still the pace was good enough for third, and maybe this approach was the way forward for a stress-free result. David Tin and Giles Dykes were still having a good run, slightly quicker than the first run through these stages, but nothing major. They lie in 4th place at this stage. With the top positions staying the same, it was up to the classes to have the battles for us this weekend. And for David Hardy and John McCulloch, it would still be the B13 class lead. And they move up to take 5th place overall now from Jasper. 2 more stages in this next loop, and no change in the lead. Damien Cole and James Morgan continuing to hold on to the lead of the rally, but taking no more time in this loop. Which means that Simon Major and Ashley Trimble had found the pace of Cole and were holding it. Sadly unable to take anything back at this stage, but the fact that they were not losing anything either was a good sign of the pace. Much the same from John Stone and Matthew Wattam too, holding the place well and not letting anyone near the podium, a result which will be good enough for second in the championship, so he'd be keen to keep it that way. David Tin and Giles Dykes continue to have a steady run in the Proton, lying in 4th and keeping the pace going well all day. They lie 3rd in the B14 class at this stage too. David Hardy and John McCulloch continue their good run, getting used to the conditions a little more now as they lie in 5th. Looking good for the B13 class victory this weekend and indeed in the championship. On to stage 7, and things almost took a turn for the worse for Damien Cole and James Morgan. The pair get caught out with the slippery conditions and have a bit of a moment in this chicane. Luckily for them, only a few seconds lost and the impact only minimal. They continue to lead the event with just 2 stages to go. Despite the problems for Cole up ahead, Simon Major and Ashley Trimble actually fall back a little on the times and lie 36 seconds behind the leaders now. The pair gambling on a soft slick for this stage, and it didn't pay off. John Stone and Matthew Watson were counting down the stages, 2 more to go, and everything was going to plan so far as they remain 3rd. David Hardy and John McCulloch were still going well too, still finding the stages slippery though, as were most, but they continue to lead the way in the B13 battle from 4th overall. Andy Fennick and Andrew Ruffhead were starting to find their pace a little more now. They move up a position into 5th now. So onto the final stages then, and a look at the finishers. And rounding out the championship results in 17th overall were Andrew and Reg Irving, the pair taking the B9 class win this weekend. For Andy Hawkins and Phil Boyle, it will be 2nd in the B11 class today, but that result was enough to net Andy the B11 class win in the championship this season. Unfortunately, the earlier mistake for Keith Robertson and Phil Sandham would only see them back up as far as 12th overall. However, they did manage to claim 3rd in the B12 class this weekend, a result which sadly only means 2nd in the B12 championship for Keith. But for Phil, it would be the victory, as well as the Millington Challenge co-driver win for 2014. Andy Hawkins may well have taken the B11 class in the championship this season, but for Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones, it was all about this weekend, and they take the class win for the final round. A result that means Tony Jones does in fact take the B11 championship for co-drivers this season. David and Matthew White do what they need to do and get to the finish, scoring enough to secure them the N4 class win for the 2014 season. And of course, the Group N trophy. David Hardy and John McCulloch have a great result after 3 months out of the seat, finishing the day in 5th overall and importantly taking the B13 class win this weekend, and indeed for the 2014 season. Andy Fennick and Andrew Ruffhead managed to get to grips with the car, even if it was a little late in the event to challenge for those podium places. They finished the day 4th, but happy that the pace was there once again. But taking the final step on the podium were John Stone and Matthew Watson, the pair taking no risks and netting themselves a good finish, which was of course the main aim of the day in order to secure John's 2nd overall in the 2014 championship. You might have to look hard to find him talking about it though. Simon Major and Ashley Trimble tried their best in the conditions, but 2nd was as high as they could manage. A fantastic result for any 2-wheel drive car. This does of course mean the B12 class win this weekend and for the season, as well as Simon taking the Millington rear-wheel drive challenge for 2014. But back to this weekend, and Damien Cole and James Morgan make it a perfect score in the championship for Damien, and of course make it a 5th championship title in a row. So with the final round and the season now complete, the points in the championship look like this. Thanks for watching the MSA Asphalt Championship here on Special Stage. You can join us again in March when the championship kicks off again on Eppint. We'll see you there.
So that brings us to the end of the REIS Asphalt Rally Championship 2014. Damien Cole makes it 5 wins, so join us next year to see if he can make it 6.